we have to cover visual arts. But do you have any doubt so far? नहीं है? ठीक है. Okay. See, I will tell you what I will be doing. The same thing. We'll be focusing on thinking structures, frameworks, approaches, how to create dimensions more, rather than going into every era and picking up every single art form. उतना तो possible है नहीं. And it is not even required because you can create dimensions on the spot. If you look at the PYQs, it is very easy. दो चार fact structure से काम हो जाए. So today we'll go to visual arts. In visual arts, what are all the art forms? One is architecture. Second is sculpture. Third is painting. And fourth is minor arts. In architecture, if you look at the history of India, the focus generally is upon not the royal architecture. We don't study forts, military architecture. We don't study palaces, the royal architecture. What we study is generally religious architecture. That is in our syllabus, and that is something which has lasted long also. South India may, for example, there is no palace available that goes back to pre-Chola era. और अदर चोला का भी एक कुछ टुकड़ा मिला हुआ है. जनरली प्री विजयनगर एम्पायर and not a single palace has survived intact. We don't even know what kind of structures were there. Think of Mahajanapada. In Mahajanapada era, we had such a great cities, the second urbanization. How did they look? Has any city survived in that way? We have the same cities continuing till since then till today, but they have completely changed. Just to imagine how they must have looked like, we have to go to Sanchi and Bharhutka sculpture, where we have a lot of urban stories. In that you get to see कि शहर कैसे होते थे, बिल्डिंगें कैसी होती थी, बालकनीज कैसे होती थी, रास्ते कैसे. We can imagine how मथुरा, how काशी, how अयोध्या would have looked आज से 1000, 1500, 2000 साल पहले, 3000 साल पहले. We have no idea. Nothing has survived. So what we focus generally is neither on the royal architecture nor, except for Hadappa, we study civic in Hadappa. Otherwise, we don't study Hadappa also. We don't study urbanization ki morphology. We study purely religious architecture generally. In religious domain, the oldest ones we start with are mostly stupa and rock cut cave. And the stupa rock cut cave have their own history, own evolution. हर एक की अपनी टाइमलाइन है of at least 1000 years. Stupas began in pre-Buddhist era and they continued to be constructed till early medieval. Their form changed, their structure changed, their functions changed, they got regionalized with different regional patterns. In South India, we have Ayaka pillars. In Deccan, you have typical Bharhut and Sanchi. In Northeast, you have Greek features, etc. So stupas also have regional dimension in the architecture. Similarly, rock cut caves, they are concentrated only where you have good rocks available, good mountains like basalt or something. So they are not available everywhere. In Vindhyas, in Kalinga, in Maharashtra, in Tamil Nadu, etc. In some places you find rock cut caves, not everywhere. But these two are originally primarily, they may belong to any religion, but they became prominent due to Buddhism. The early phase of the religious architecture, which is prominent, is generally Buddhist. Then gradually we have stupas of Jainism also, but Jaina stupas did not last long. They did not continue with it for a long time. They discarded the practice, they shifted to temples. With the rise of temples that we see from Gupta era onwards, we have the third feature, that is temple architecture. So temples also evolve with time. They have their regional features and they have their own evolution. Then in the medieval time, we have Indo-Islamic. In Indo-Islamic, we focus on tombs primarily. बाकी भी है, मीनार्स है, मॉस्क्स है, gardens है, मुगल गार्डन etc. We have various other parts, but generally tombs and उसके डोम जो है style of domes. These are our main features. This is the panorama of architecture for us. We have forts and cities, Fatehpur Sikri, etc., but we don't need to go there a lot. Then we come to sculpture. Again, we have beginning old sculptures available from Harappa. From Harappa, we come to Mauryan era. In Mauryan era, we have seen that there is some sculpture which is royal and some which is popular. Royal, elite, and mass both. The third thing is you go to post-Mauryan. In post-Mauryan, you have two phases. Firstly, you have Shunga Satavahan, or primarily Shunga Satavahan sculpture, which is less found standalone and more on the stupa itself. So they were adorning stupas. And then we have Gandhar, Mathura, Amravati. When you come to Gupta era, in Gupta era, we have basically Mathura becoming very important and being absorbed into Gupta idiom, and then we have Sarnath Buddha. In the post-Gupta and early medieval, sculpture में क्या होता है ना, you have lots of different materials of sculpture, and the material would decide what kind of technology is to be used. If it is a wood, तो आपको carpentry चाहिए. If it is a terracotta, you need some kind of terracotta art, plastic art. If it is a metal, you should know how to use foundry, lost wax. And if it is stone, stonework and polishing. So sculpture का outcome may be same sculpture with different raw materials, but every raw material will change the entire skill set. जो आदमी लकड़ी पे काम करता है वो पत्थर पे कैसे कर पाएगा, पत्थर वाला काम ब्रॉन्ज पे कैसे कर पाएगा, different skill sets all together. ठीक है, so there is diversity of technologies in case of sculpture, but we don't need to go there much. In early medieval, we generally focus on Chola era bronze, or rather Chola era sculpture, or Chola bronze. Secondly, Pala sculpture from Nalanda, etc. And then we have overall temple, sculptures on the temple. Then when you come to painting, in case of painting, let me change the color now. We start with Mesolithic era, the prehistoric painting. It is found across India. Thousands of caves have prehistoric painting, but not all of them is well surviving. So Bhimbetka is most well known, but there are thousands of them, and they also have got regional pattern. But anyway, we come to next era. After Mesolithic, suddenly we have the Satavahan phase. We don't have paintings surviving from Mahajan phase, Mahajanpad phase, Mauryan phase. Post-Maurya, you start seeing painting the early phase of Ajanta. We know Ajanta was built in two phases, Satavahan phase and then Vakataka phase. In Satavahan phase, we have early Ajanta, Vakataka हुआ later Ajanta. Architecture भी अलग है, sculpture भी अलग है. यहाँ पे हीनयान, यहाँ पे महायान, उनका painting style भी अलग है. So early Ajanta, later Ajanta, but early is not as beautiful. So we focus on, when we say Ajanta painting, we generally mean the better part of Ajanta, that is Gupta phase. So generally we go to Gupta painting. Here you have Ajanta, which is the most iconic. We have Bagh also, which is contemporary of Ajanta. We have post-Gupta also. In the post-Gupta, anybody? We have paintings again, post-Gupta plus early medieval. साथ में लेके चलते हैं. The paintings on temple walls. Starting from the cave of Badami during Chalukya era, we have a huge tradition of murals on walls of temple. Various temples in Pallava era, in Chola era, sculptures on the temples were painted generally. They were not left vacant. And then we also have cave paintings. So both of them are murals only. But we also see the beginning of miniature painting. And वो कौन से हैं? One is Pala. I hope you know this. And other is Pothi painting in Gujarat. Pothi painting in Gujarat. Pala is Jain painting and Pothi is Pala is Buddhist painting, sorry, and Pothi is Jain painting. Then you go to next era. We have Mughal miniatures painting. In Mughal miniature, there are again multiple themes. How it started from Humayun and flourished under Akbar. So Akbar's contribution in establishing Mughal painting. Then Jahangir took it to next level. तो जहांगीर के समय नेचुरलिज्म कैसे था, पोर्ट्रेचर कैसे था, साइकोलॉजिकल पोर्ट्रेट्स कैसे, लॉट्स ऑफ जहांगीर्स कंट्रीब्यूशन इज वेरी मेजर फॉर मुगल पेंटिंग. Shahjahan not so much. So either entire Mughal painting or specifically Jahangir contribution. Apart from that, there are two, three more dimensions. How the Mughal ideology, the political ideology, was reflecting in the paintings. Secondly, if you look at the paintings, what kind of society economy appears today from the paintings? And thirdly, what was the interaction between Mughals and European painting? क्या क्या इंटरेक्शन हुई थी? सो तीन में ओवरऑल कंट्रीब्यूशन, जहांगीर कंट्रीब्यूशन, पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी, सोशो इकोनॉमिक पिक्चर एंड यूरोपियन कंट्रीब्यूशन, यूरोपियन कनेक्ट कॉन्टैक्ट. ये पांच थीम आते बस. Then after Mughal miniature, we go to regional, in which we have three major things. One is Deccan, which actually predates Mughal. We have Rajasthan and we have Pahadi. In prelims, we study paintings within them also a lot. उनके हर एक के अंदर जाके देखते हैं. But that will not be asked. UPSC will not ask किशनगढ़ बताओ, नहीं पूछेगी. Not required. And then you also have other paintings. It could be folk paintings, etc. लेकिन अलग बात है. So overall, this thing entirely becomes a panorama of your visual arts in ancient and medieval. We are not going into modern because UPSC has not gone into modern so far. It is a very risky area. I'll be very honest with you. In last 10, 15, 20 years, UPSC never asked a question on modern art. तो हम भी बात नहीं करते. बट काली घाटा पेंटिंग हो, कंपनी स्कूल ऑफ पेंटिंग हो, पटना कलम उसका एक सब पार्ट है, पटना कलम हो, या फिर वी हैव राजा रवि वर्मा हो, बंगाल स्कूल हो. दिस देर इज ऑल्सो टिल बॉम्बे rebellion etc. For the 19th century and 20th century, we have a very active painting field in Indian history, but UPSC has not gone there at all. तो हम क्यों फालतू में अपना सर दबाए, तो हम उसको नहीं पढ़ते. ठीक है. So this is the overall panorama. Now, if you look at the questions which are of descriptive style, they are very simple. Features batao. But look at the question UPSC has asked. They are coming primarily from some interpretation. So now we have to learn how to interpret the. इसमें दो चीजें देखनी है हमें, from this direction and from that direction. From this direction, patronage, religion, dynasty, of folk people, how they are funding, how they are influencing visual arts. जैसे कि रिलीजन चेंज होगी, चेंज इन रिलीजन, हाउ इट अफेक्टेड आर्ट एंड कल्चर, आर्किटेक्चर. यूपीएससी philosophical change is reflected in monuments. कैसे? So to see that how different ideas and patronage affect architecture or visual arts. That is one. And on the other side, if you look at visual arts today, what kind of history you can recreate? Through sculptures, what kind of society do you know? Through paintings, what kind of economy do you know? So from this direction and from this direction, that is our primary idea, and we'll take some of this as example. ठीक है. बाकी इफ दे स्पेसिफिकली आस्क यू गुप्ता स्कल्पचर बताओ, यू नो क्लासिकल एज है, टीचर लिखने विद सम अप्रोप्रिएट एग्जांपल्स, वी कैन थिंक ऑफ उदयगिरी, उदयगिरी में वराह अवतार है, यू कैन थिंक ऑफ मथुरा, सारनाथ, सुल्तानपुर बुद्धा, समथिंग कॉपर, समथिंग इन स्टोन, एंड ऑल दिस पैराडॉक्सेस एंड आईएएस एंड क्लासिकल, यही लिखना है. सो स्पेसिफिक्स यू ऑलरेडी नो. नाउ वी हैव टू गो टू नेक्स्ट लेवल. देखो, दो चीजें होती है इन केस ऑफ विजुअल आर्ट्स. देयर इज अ टेक्निकल टर्म जो कि आउट ऑफ आवर अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं होनी चाहिए, बट प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दीज आर एकेडमिक फील्ड्स. यूपीएससी इज क्लियरली आस्किंग क्वेश्चंस डायरेक्टली without naming the discipline for which they are asking questions. देखो, एक होता है आपका आइकोनोग्राफी, जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल गो फॉर गांधार, मथुरा, अमरावती. इन गांधार बुद्धा, वहां पे some influence came from Roman Empire, some came from Greek culture, and all of that went on creating the features of Gandhar Buddha. कान कैसे, नाक कैसे, बाल कैसे, कपड़े कैसे. This is study of icons. Icons, what this thing symbol, symbolism जो है ना, that is iconography. So these questions have been repeatedly asked in both prelims and pre में पूछे what is भूमिस्पर्श मुद्रा, right? This is study of iconography. We don't have that as a subject, but UPSC ultimately ends up going to symbolic meaning of things. So that NCERT में लिखा हुआ है word iconography of 11th and 12th standard. But NCERT has also given one other word जो आपने इस कॉन्टेस्ट में नहीं सुना होगा. अगर सुना होगा तो आई कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट यू. आई एम श्योर नहीं सुना होगा. वी कॉल इट iconology. Iconology. It's what is iconology? You look at these sculptures, look at the painting, and try to analyze them to understand the society, polity, economy of that era. Not only symbolic meaning. नटराज मूर्ति अगर है तो what does this hand mean and that hand mean and this position mean? तो symbolic meaning is only iconography. That is first level analysis. And then the second level analysis is, अच्छा, who funded this murti? What is the gender dynamics? What is the caste dynamics? What is the class analysis? What is the economic context of these things? So once you go to recreate these socio-economic political features, it is called as iconology. यूपीएससी का सवाल वही है. चेंज इन फिलोसॉफी इज रिफ्लेक्टेड इन चेंज इन मॉन्यूमेंट्स, आइकोनोलॉजी है. व्हाट features of the early medieval society are apparent or visible from the temple sculptures. स्कल्पचर देखो, बताओ सोशल फीचर्स. आर्ग्यूमेंट तो पता, यू ऑलरेडी हैव आर्ग्यूमेंट्स ऑफ सोशल सोशल फीचर, सबको पता है आर्ग्यूमेंट क्या है. बट एज एन एविडेंस यू कांट जस्ट साइट अल बरूनी नाउ. यू कांट साइट सम स्मृति, यू हैव टू साइट मूर्ति. सो एविडेंस कैसे जुगाड़े, दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम देयर, राइट? सो some questions come on iconography, some come on iconology. There is a connected field called semiotics. ये भी अलग से इंडिया में जनरली ब्रांचेस नहीं होते, हम क्या करें, बहुत कम लोग सेमियोटिक्स पढ़ते हैं. बट इन इन वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज दिस आर वेरी इवॉल्व्ड फील्ड्स ऑफ स्टडी. यूपीएससी इज एक्चुअली गोइंग इनटू द हार्ड कोर ऑफ आर्ट हिस्ट्री. आपको मैं जो पढ़ा रहा हूँ 4 दिन से, क्यों पढ़ा रहा हूँ? बिकॉज दिस थिंग्स आर नॉट इंट्रोड्यूस्ड at the beginning level or any level in coaching industry for some reason. But questions are coming from semiotics, questions are coming from iconography, and questions are coming from iconology. At this stage I can talk about them because एक तो आपका कोई चारा नहीं है सुनने बजाय, आप सुनोगे मैं बोल रहा हूँ. और दूसरा यह है कि आपको लग रहा है कि कुछ अलग से चीज, कुछ अलग नहीं है, सेम क्वेश्चंस. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग देम द टेक्निकल नेम, एंड इवन इफ यू डोंट नो द नेम इट डज नॉट मैटर एट ऑल. बट यू शुड नो कि उसका नाम है iconography, iconology, and semiotics. Iconography, iconology, these two terms are given in the 11th standard NCERT. ठीक है, बट लेट अस फॉरगेट दिस पार्ट ना. मैंने एक बार इंट्रोड्यूस कर दिया. वी डोंट नीड टू गो इनटू थिंकर्स, गॉमरिज क्या कहता है और कौन क्या कहता है. वी टू फोकस ऑन आवर ओवरऑल स्टडी.